Hey everyone. It is June 16th, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, according to what the numbers on the bottom of my screen say. This is Cindy at an open door. This is the hour we've entitled Where the Rubber Meets the Road, where we look at a specific page or paragraph or something in A Course in Miracles. And we talk about how to use it or how it can be used in our day-to-day life. Um, I opened I opened the book at random, and I came to a section that I don't know if it's in the blue book at all. So Andrew says no, it's not. And this one particular paragraph, which I'm going to read out loud, and then I'm going to play a song that is inspired by a dyad I had this morning. And then let's talk about it a little bit more and probably read this paragraph and then give it to Andrew and then open it up for discussion. The words I've been sitting with since the middle of last week when I opened the book. And there was an egoic sense of going, if it's not in both books, we can't talk about it. And I thought that was so interesting that I heard the voice say that. And then I'm looking at the voice, and then I'm reading these pages, and specifically this paragraph, and I'm going, I I got chills even as I'm like having this space. To me, this paragraph is so powerful, so single-mindedly, who are you putting your faith in right now? And don't worry if you haven't gotten there yet, because you know the truth of who I am is never giving up on you. Like whatever love is will never, ever, ever give up on me. I could deny it for the next 1,000 years. And the moment I turn around, it's going to be there. I'm getting teary eyed and chilled just with this understanding that I can't screw this up. Whatever Cindy is separate from source, I can't mess it up. It, God, love, divinity is going to be exactly where it is now in the eternal moment. And as soon as and in the moments whatever needs to be released is released so that I could drop into it's going to be there. Yeah. So the sentences are, I offer far more than partial guidance, although you do not ask for more. The uneven quality of your skill in both asking and following my direction is due to the alternations you experience between ego and miracle-oriented perception. This is a strain, but fortunately, one which can be overcome along with the rest. There will never be a time when I do not will to try again. You might be gladdened by remembering that. All right, now the song. I do believe it's not in our playlist actually because YouTube doesn't allow it because there are images of children. But it is on YouTube, and it is a song that touches my heart.
See me beautiful, look for the best in me. It's what I really am, and all I wanna be. It may take some time, it may may be hard to find, but see me beautiful. See me beautiful each and every day. Could you take a chance? Could you find a way to see me shining through in everything I do, and see me beautiful? See me beautiful, look for the best in me. It's what I really am, and all I wanna be. It may take some time, it may be hard to find, but see me beautiful. See me beautiful each and every day. Could you take a chance? Could you find a way to see me shining through in everything I do, and see me beautiful?
I offer far more than partial guidance, although you do not ask for more. The uneven quality of your skill in both asking and following my direction is due to the alternations you experience between ego and miracle-oriented perception. This is a strain, but fortunately one which can be overcome along with the rest. There will never be a time when I do not will to try again. You might be gladdened by remembering that. I've sat with those words over the last X number of days, and yesterday into today, I started just being in the space of allowing myself to notice where Cindy trusts, trusts consciousness, divine, infinite potential, all the stuff we talk about. More and more of my life, I have surrendered into recognizing that no matter how I feel in the moment or what's going on, it's all okay. It's all perfect. It's all divine, right? And where these pockets exist that I don't, or that this personality, that whatever, that I, whatever I am clinging, tethered to this sense of doom or fear or the need to control. I was on the phone with Emma yesterday, and it wasn't about a car, so but she was suffering and struggling, having issues with her roommate. And I got off the phone, and number one, from a sanskara standpoint, there was something that got activated, and there was a pain that far exceeded the storyline, right? So I have learned to know that that is an opportunity for healing, and I was with that. But even more, I noticed how over the days that the mind would want to go back to wanting to help her, or wishing she wasn't like that, or that she was having a whatever, right? There was this aspect of the storyline and Cindy's role in it, where in this particular place, there is an I'm being careful because consciously I trust that God's got it, right? But when I watch my behavior, I watch the contraction, I watch you know, how often the mind goes back to it. It's this area that says, mm, you know, that wants to take ownership of it, separate from the knowing that ultimately all is okay. And there are other aspects of the story that want to like I could see it. Even I noticed that when a whole bunch of judgment comes up in my mind concerning another, somehow this paragraph, instead of just saying judgment, you know, I ask for the atonement, I forgive, or I ask for the forgiveness, I I've been slowing things down and looking at where that judgment was coming from, not because of their behavior, but what's in here? What's in here that feels the need to judge? And what I've been discovering again is this aspect of self that feels tight and frightened and needs to defend itself and is doing that by in the mind attacking another through judgment. But when I stepped back from the judgment or justifying the judgment or the wishing things were better, and I went to find its source, it's this place inside Cindy that is not that is not trusting and not living in the miracle oriented perception of the world, that is not letting go into that surrender. And in that seeing that came from sitting with this particular paragraph, just this paragraph, right? There is the acceptance that there is both the ego oriented perception and the miracle oriented perception in my experience. Now, I accept that because we're getting together like this and we're committed to the work, there's a natural transition. More and more of this experience is being surrendered into the flow or into miracle orientation, into, you know, my world is like when I'm asking for help, I recognize it's the monad, it's the risen Christ, it's the part of me that knows, like it doesn't feel all that separate. It's the truth of who I am when I know the truth. And there's a whole bunch of different tones being played within Cindy. So it doesn't feel like the part I'm surrendering into doesn't feel separate from the truth of who I am. It feels like surrendering into the truth of what we all are. Just the seeing in the beginning, being able to lift into consciousness. And I want to state clearly that that seeing doesn't feel good in the body. There's some real pain. There's a real, like, over and over again in the seeing yesterday. There is the sense of something that feels like a cockroach who had just gotten the light turned on it. Like that, there's some aspect of self that doesn't want to sit in this. And what got really useful to me in the moment of seeing that, and again, the visual I get is a cockroach when the light gets turned on, right? There's an aspect in here, you turn the lights on and all those, whatever Rana taught me that it's called down by where some of you live. There's three of you. It's not it's called something other than a cockroach, but it's still those big ugly black bugs that don't like the light that squirrel away into the corner. I see it and hear, and I have no problem mixing teachings, by the way. This is an open door. So in the seeing of that, I have Helen Hamilton saying, I choose to stand still as the self. The entire world may seem to be falling apart, and I might feel like I'm falling apart, and it might feel like I'm faking it and I'm a fraud, but I am choosing miracle oriented perception. I am choosing to ask. That was even in my contemplation this morning. My prayer is to get to the point where I no longer need to ask because I know the truth of who I am. But as long as this fear is arising relative to the world I see, that's ego perception, conscious, that's ego-minded perception. I am asking for the miracle to touch that space within me. And I'm also reminded that this is a practice, not a perfection, and it'll take as long as it'll take. And this particular paragraph also reminds me over and over and over again that that I can't fail at this, no matter how long it takes me. I can, there could be a million different pieces that have to be looked at, and I only handle them one a day. It could be a million days. God's never leaving. The eternal now, the presence that is here for all of eternity. And I've got all the time and eternity to surrender the aspects of self that still think that fear is justified in the moment and will get me somewhere, you know, even though all of the teachings tell me the only thing fear breeds is fear. So, feels like a resting point. So I am handing things over to Andrew and then opening it up to whatever happens next. Hey, Andrew.
Hello, Cindy. Hello, everyone. Love to all of you. Yeah, it's interesting that this section of chapter 4 isn't in the blue book, and that's the book I usually go to when I'm reading the text because it's just a lot easier to hold. That purple book is bulky. Uh, yeah, that section starts out uh, talking about if you have trouble meditating, to ask for guidance on whether this is a good time to meditate. And I have a confession to make. I seldom try to meditate because I'm not any good at it. And even asking for guidance, I don't usually hear an answer. Uh, I know there are people who ask for guidance for everything, whether what to order on the menu, should I watch this movie or that? Or there are people who ask for guidance on everything. I've tried and I don't hear any answer. But what I do feel is a sense of peace a lot of times. And that's when I have to make a decision, that's what I lean towards. Uh, I feel that as long as you don't judge the outcome of whatever decision you make, you can't go wrong. Because our biggest problem is judgment. And judgment makes the world, judgment makes perception because it's a world of contrast. If we were all blue and everything was blue and that was the only color, the word color wouldn't mean anything. The word blue wouldn't mean anything. So the ego has to judge to live in the world. The Holy Spirit knows that there's nothing to judge and this is all a dream, and we just can try to get in touch with our peaceful center. That's what I do. I do have a deep sense of peace. I mean, the course has been a miracle for me and how it changed my personality from before I started practicing. And I am at peace now. I don't, have any fear of dying or anything like that. And I think that's it. I think, as long as you don't judge the outcome of whatever decision you make, there's not going to be any problems because Problems come from judgment. I guess that's my comment. I can't think of anything else. Love to you all.
As I was listening to you, I sunk right into a teaching that Richard gave in the last couple of weeks, where he reminded us all that the peace and the stillness is Holy Spirit's answer to whatever question we're asking. I've somehow managed to instill that teaching into my heart. It comes up all. Thank you, Richard, for that. Who's going to share next? Please, Amy.
What a great description of the cockroach in the light. That was really good. I noticed the exact same thing, that when I'm judging, even the slightest judgment, there's a contraction. And when I shine the light on it, my mind tries to go into thinking mode. Well, what about this? What about that? What about this? I can just see it scurrying away, trying to catch my attention on anything immediately external, than actually sinking into the awareness that that was a judgment and I just noticed it. And then what I do is I ask, well, what noticed it? And what noticed it is awareness. And that is extremely helpful to me, because that awareness has no judgment. All it is awareness. There's another piece here, and I don't want to divert in any way, but I'd love to hear what people think about this. It's on page 186 at the bottom of the page in paragraph 6. And the Christ consciousness is saying, and I just want to say, Andrew is right. This entire section, asking and following, could be read every day, every single day, several times a day. It is such a foundational instruction about how to live in this world. And so the Christ consciousness says, I do not yet know what decisions those who are involved in what is happening today will make, but I assure you with confidence, I urge you to share that whatever they may be, they will be utilized for good if you will let them be. So the Christ consciousness is saying there, I don't know what decisions you will make, which is really interesting to me. That doesn't really jive with my understanding of what the Christ consciousness is and what I am and what time is. It doesn't mesh with it, because my understanding is everything has already happened. There is no time. Everything has already been decided. There's only one mind. There are no stray thoughts in the one mind. The one mind knows all of its thoughts, all thoughts. So I guess I think if we read further down, that there might be some clarification in that, but I've underlined those sections several times, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, Cindy, about, if you want to, about.
Well, yeah, don't unmute, because as I was listening to you, the thought that came to me was this teaching, and I'm not going to quote it because I don't know where it comes from, that the Father doesn't see or acknowledge the dream characters because the Father doesn't acknowledge that the separation exists in reality. And so from that perspective, what happens, and it might be a predominantly Joel Goldsmith kind of teaching, that I have spent a fair amount of time with. So maybe I now know that Monique and I both have a love of Joel Goldsmith, but my teaching relative to Joel Goldsmith, where he says like crazy things happen in the illusion and the mesmerism, and people are doing all sorts of insane things, but the one power doesn't even acknowledge it is happening. The one power, the Father or God or whatever, walks right through the mirage as if the mirage isn't there. So it's when attention is placed on the mirage as if it's real, and the picture that's coming up for me right now, which is which I got from Joel Goldsmith, is you're driving down a desert road and you see an ocean in front of you, right? If you are in truth and you know what you're seeing is just a mirage based on how the sun is hitting the road, you just keep driving straight through and the ocean disappears. But if you get frightened and you see an ocean in front of you and say, I can't go any further, you stop, you get out of the car, you turn around, you do all sorts of things. So for me, relative to your question, it's like, oh, look at that. There's an ocean in front of me. The guidance is to keep moving forward. I know it's for my good. I wonder what's going to happen next. It almost doesn't matter if the ocean disappears or it doesn't, because it's all God. I don't know if that makes any sense, but those are the things that coming up as you asked. And I also wonder, like, this is a section where Helen probably my belief, or the story I heard that I believe, is that Helen pulled out all this stuff that she thought was personal, right, from the Blue Book. And so this is like her higher wisdom talking to her. So she probably had a specific question in mind. What are those people going to do? What are they going to say? And the immediate response was, going back to Keith Kavanaugh, going, of course, doesn't matter that it keeps, conflicting with itself. It's going to give you whatever it needs in the moment. So what Helen needed to hear in the moment was that it doesn't matter what the others are going to say, as long as you know that the ultimate is good. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to stop now because I don't know if I'm getting off track. But those are the things that came up as I was listening to you.
I can grok all of that. I think it may also be reaching into the timelessness of or the dimensions, that the multitude of dimensions in which we can choose one thing or another thing. It doesn't matter which one we choose, because we have free will at this level. And so we can choose whatever we want to choose, but whatever we choose is always within the one. And you said that, Cindy, at the end of what you were saying. So I just come back to, I offer far more than partial guidance. And so no matter what decision is made, it is made within the whole. And it is holy. It doesn't matter. So, and then, I'd like to throw it out there. What does it mean that I offer more than partial guidance, but you do not ask for more? What would it look like to ask for more? Thank you. I love us.
Hey, Verona.
Hey, everybody. Missed you all. Glad to be back. Amy's question is exactly what I've been asking for the past couple of days, is to be willing to ask for help with more decision making. just in terms of my movement throughout the house and whatever, that open to the possibility of what's next. Like this morning, there was a thought and an urge to go run an errand. And instead, I just actually paused and I was like, is that the next thing? And it was like, no, you don't need to do that right now. And so I went with that without judgment, without worrying, oh, but when is this thing going to get done? There's been none of that. It's just this knowing, no, that it wasn't the time to do that. So for me, I feel like the term partial guidance is, when I get disturbed, right, immediately, I'm going in arrest, accept, and trust. Okay, help me with what's going on here, to accept what's going on. And so in those times of disturbance, right there. But what about the other parts of the day? Asking for guidance with little details of the day. And so I really enjoyed this reading. And also the sentence that Amy had quoted reminded me that everything that happens can be used for my awakening. Whatever's happening that I'm perceiving is happening with a loved one or my friends or myself, all of it can be used, to awaken, to question, is this true? And that was the opportunity that I had last week. I carried just a small mantra with me as I went out through the week. When I felt fear of emotions such as, fear or disturbance or, judgment, I would name it and claim it. I'm feeling fear right now. What am I believing to be true? And I could see that belief. And most of it was, you're separate, alone, and different, things of judgment on self. And boy, those are old news. They still come up, but I'm just so not attached to them anymore that I'm able to just see it. And of course, the resting in the heart with it, shining the light on it, questioning, is that true? No. It's so clear now when a lot of self-judgment comes through, the answer is that's not true. And I don't beat up myself for them still arising. I think the job is that I've thought this way for so long, these crevices are so deep that it's just old habit, really. It's like a computer switch. If A, then B. Right? If I find myself in this situation, the mind immediately says you're separate, alone, and different, or feel guilty, right? You should be, you shouldn't be, and I can really see those now, and I'm so grateful for that. And so, but I'm willing to ask for more. And the other thing that came was I was listening to a Nisargadatta Maharaj short clip on YouTube this weekend. And the reminder was that don't feel guilty for forgetting, that oscillation or that vacillation that Cindy was talking about between, being in the ego mind or being miracle minded. Don't beat myself up for that. I'm not guilty for that. Rejoice that you're remembering now. My life has been set up now where there are so many pointings throughout the day, whether it be a YouTube notification or an email from one of you guys or a gathering to go to or some type of homework and gentle healing that I'm taking. My day has spiritual pointers throughout the day to remember. It's like been so beautifully designed for this one, not to get too far away from it. But even if I do, it's okay. There's Rana-ing again. Oh, well, not taking it too seriously, too much, those kind of things. And I really did enjoy reading the entire section. I had never looked at this and did glance at the cameo that's referred to. where the actual way the story was written. And there's some really good pointings about why Helen was afraid to meditate. You know, she had put together this little connection of things that made fear, because she could, controlling the thoughts became a self-protection mechanism. Like, oh, there's that thought, push it away. You know, it seems to be for me. So that's a really good indicator for me. Am I just pushing them away? It's no, I'm letting it be there. There's no guilt for it, for these thoughts coming. You know, I'm learning to embrace them. Oh yeah, honey, you're afraid again because you think you're different and alone. It's okay. You know, so anyway, I just share that in case anybody's interested in seeing the background to this little chapter too. I love the Purple Book because it gives such a wide breadth of things, you know, but I realize that there's no right version either, because that would be ego thinking. Thank you.
You know, something dropped, and then I'll give it to Monique. Something dropped while I was listening to you. When we stop and ask, right? There's tears here, so I know this is for me. It's not really that we're asking for guidance. It's another way of looking at it. When I stop, and it's literally what you described, but this is the way it dropped. It's less about asking for guidance. It's more about taking the pause to see where the next step, the motivation for doing the next step is coming from. And when I pause anyway, I can see when whatever I'm intending to do next in the world, when I pause and look, it becomes obvious that this next step is coming from a need to protect myself in the world, or show up in a certain way, or XYZ. And when that comes up in the pause, going, no, I don't do that anymore. Then when that goes away, what happens from that clear open space is that guidance that helps expand the self. And somehow that just dropped in a new way as you were sharing, Rana. Yeah.
Yeah, can I just add that, like, the next movement in some of those cases, the movement was to show up for the next thing at camp for Kylie, you know, to show up to the very Christian worship service, which was only 15 minutes, Rana. Can't you just do this for your daughter? You know, and to use that as an opportunity as well for awareness, to see the thoughts that I'm thinking about what I'm experiencing and questioning. Is that even true anymore? That's stuff you thought about when you were 13 years old. Let it go, sister. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So nice to have you here, Monique.
When you, Cindy, what came into my mind when you were talking, and also you said it again just before, when you came back and said something about it's not asking for help, but it's pausing. So what came into my mind is the quote from the Course in Miracles. It's not what we read today, but it's always been very important for me, that quote. And it says, I am responsible for what I see. So it means I am responsible for the way I see it. I'm not responsible for what is happening, what I see that is happening, but I am responsible for the way I see it. And it says, I choose the feeling I experience and decide upon the goal I would achieve. And everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for and receive as I have asked. But all of that because I didn't stop. I judged what I saw right away. I put a label on it. I decide what it means for me. instead to just let it be, instead to me being told. So stopping is very important. Like it's empty anyway. So that's what came into my mind right away. I am responsible for what I see. So I have nothing to do what is there. It's everything has to do with me. How do I see it? What do I do with that? So that's what I saw. And something else came into my mind. I have a hard time to say it because I never talked about it. It's Cindy, when you said you're driving a car in the desert, and there's a lake, and you're driving and you see the lake and you don't know if you're going to stop or keep driving. So what came into my mind was I did a bicycle trip when I was 33. I didn't know it. I wanted to go around the world really, but I didn't. But I went around the United States. It took 11 months. That trip took 11 months, and I did it because I wanted to know who I was. Because I was what everybody wanted me to be, but I didn't know what I was. I knew what they were, but when people ask me, what do you want? I don't know. Like I had no personality. And I wanted to know what was wrong. So I went on that bicycle by myself, and a bicycle 9,000 miles. But what happened is one time I was going downhill. I think I was on the West Coast in California then. And I was going downhill, and I've been bicycle for maybe 8-9 months then. So I was pretty, good with it, with the bicycle and all the weight and the tan and the food and everything. And I was going downhill, and I wanted to hit 60 miles an hour because I have a speedometer, but I never did 60 miles an hour. So I was trying to pedal and go faster and looking at the speeder, and it was 57, 58, and a big truck came in just beside me. I mean, a huge truck. And that truck had a hole in the middle. So I didn't see the truck because I was so busy to look at the speedometer. And when the truck went by me, I could not stop because the hill going down was so big. I was shocked by the going toward the truck, because the truck has sometimes they have a car something that to block the hole, but this truck had like a big hole in the middle, and then there was the wheel each side, and the hole in the middle, the wind sucked me inside, going inside, and it happened so fast. I said, that's it. That's the end of my life. I'm dying. And when I said, that's it, I let it go. I didn't do anything. I could not do anything because on the other side was just a big rock. Like I had no choice. And I said, that's it. And what happened is there is an energy that came in and picked me up, picked my bicycle up and picked me up and hold me there. And the truck went by. And the funniest thing, what I remember is the energy when it put me down so slow. I could feel it going down. And then the wheel touched the road, and then I kept going. And I never talk about it because it's things that it's not possible. Like it's just things that happen. And it just came into my mind because Cindy, you said, what, do I go? Do I stop? What do I do? Like when you see a lake, do you go through the lake? Do you go? I gave it up. I had no choice. I just gave it up, and I was totally protected. And that, anyway, that the energy stayed with me for a long, long time. The energy of how love I was being protected and being. I was doing that road trip trying to find out who I was, and I realized that I am being loved. I mean, who will do that? Who will protect me like that? Who will put their energy? And I started to. That was a big teaching for me. A lot of things happened in that trip, but that one that I just remind me that. But anyway, that was being in a prison moment. That was being out of time. It's just like the time was being cut off, and it's like the truck went by and then it put me back in time. I don't know how to explain it, but that was real love, total love, and it felt unbelievable. I mean, trying to hit 60 miles an hour on my bicycle was nothing beside that experience. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm watching the ego mind wanting to tag on to everything you just shared, but yeah. I'm just so grateful that you were brought to us.
Thank you.
I'm gonna sit. I've been sitting with all your shares. They're very impactful to whatever's going on here, and I'm just so grateful for your presence. Sandra.
Thank you, Cindy. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, these experiences that we have that are so amazing. Don't always hear about them, but I'm so glad that you felt moved to share that with us, Monique. Grateful for that. As I was reading this and listening to the discussion, I remembered a really impactful time when I did receive guidance. And it was interesting because as I was learning, and as I was doing the course, and as I was just doing all these different investigations into what I am, I kept asking, what should I do? What should I do about this? What should I do about that? And when should I do it? And the guidance that I got was, it doesn't matter what you do. It's who you are while you're doing it. And that was it. That just changed everything. And who I am while I'm doing it kind of relates to that paragraph, or what's your oriented, do you have an ego or a miracle-oriented perception? So there's this whole field of potentiality. Awareness is an unlimited potentiality of things that could be done or not done. And then all it boils down to is, what do I identify with as my true self? And all the miraculous seeing, the new vision that comes from completely remembering who I am, not partially remembering. I think that's that word, partial. Completely remembering the truth of who I am. And then I see things differently. And then I just kind of do whatever I'm like, I just keep moving. flowing, I guess is the word. And I'll know what to do. But even if there isn't any wrong choice, that's what I love about it. There's no wrong choice because all that matters is who I am while I'm doing it. What do I identify with? That whatever I do will be utilized for good. As long as I'm coming from, I don't know how else to explain it. Not coming from isn't really the right words, but I don't know other words. But as long as I am established in my identity of truth, then words come, actions come. And there's nothing predictive about it. As far as partially asking for guidance, it's almost like you said, Cindy, you don't even ask for guidance anymore. You just remember who you are. But I had this image of the ocean. We talk about the ocean of awareness. And sometimes I stick my big toe in, sometimes I go in up to my waist, and sometimes I dive in and just float on the waves. I love floating on the waves because it just, you go up and down. And so I think the times when I stick my big toe in, that might be something akin to being partially open to who I truly am. That's all I have, everybody. Thanks for listening.
The Dago's in the house.
Hi, everyone. So great to be here. Thank you so much, Monique. It just reminded me of when I was living in the Bay Area, San Francisco, and I have a truck, had a truck, and my wheel locked. I was on the freeway. It was 4 lanes, and so I was no longer driving, and I was like, I'm dying. But I wasn't afraid at all. I was like, oh, I said, here I go. And I went across the entire freeway, both freeways, both the north and the south, 4 lanes each, and landed perfectly in the emergency lane and was not touched. And I remember going, I'm alive, I'm alive. Anyway, it was totally God. There's just no way on earth. And even like there are 2 other cars that like stopped and were like, oh my God, we saw you. Wow, we can't believe what we saw. So yeah, it's just amazing, honestly, everything and how God is doing everything. So yeah, I love being here and I love being in all my shit. So thank you so much.
Hey, Chuck, my attention keeps being drawn to your square, even though your square's been moving around a little bit. And I'm just inspired to ask how this teaching is landing with you today in your life and the various stories that you live in. Mr. Hunter. Yeah.
I'm sorry, what did you say? I got distracted somehow.
I said my attention kept getting drawn to your square, and there's just this wanting to ask you how this teaching today is landing for you and in your story in this time.
Well, asking and following was exactly but I'm whirling. I can't everything that I'm applying here and I'm hearing I relate to, but I think I guess that's the problem right there. I get it. It seems like I've gotten what I needed, and everything gets quiet, and then the same script starts coming into my head just out of the blue, and the same things, and I'm feeling really I'm baffled and wore out, to be honest, right now with where I've been going for the last couple of weeks. I can't. I really love the asking and following the guidance, and I liked that line that got me was that maybe I was asking and it was ambivalent, and I had to look up. I thought I knew what ambivalent was, but I went to the dictionary to verify, and so I found that what I've been doing a lot was the word that Andrew used after he was talking. I've been judging myself all over the place. I've been consistently judging everything. And I guess that's probably why I'm not getting anywhere really. Although I like what Sandra said there at the end. I'm continuing to put one foot in front of the other, and I'm showing up for the things that I'm supposed to be doing and am doing. And it seems to be, I seem to be functioning and being received in other areas in other ways in a kind of a decent, I don't know if that makes any sense, acceptable way. And I seem to be making some contribution someplace, but I'm in my own head. I'm still spinning like a top, if that makes any sense.
Okay, if I give you feedback?
Now, I love getting 2 cents. I love getting anybody's.
All right, so the first thing I wanted to say is for those of us who have been with you for years, and I've been with you for a long time now, the idea that you're not making progress makes no sense to me. And you even said in your share that there are some areas of your life where you can see the progress and other areas where your head's still spinning. So healing is not linear, and it doesn't really make sense. And overall, you're making tremendous progress. So the mind that tells you you're not is a liar. The second thing, as I was listening to you, was Amy's invitation to all of us, but maybe some of us more than others, this idea of reading just these 2 pages several times a day.
I took note of that, and I've got it bookmarked, and that's exactly what I intend to do. Thank you for reinforcing that for me.
Yeah, one of the things that my egoic mind tends to do is keep me scattered. And instead of focusing on one kind of simple teaching, which the longer we spend with the Course in Miracles, the more simple it becomes in my head. It wants to spread out and say, well, that's not working, that's not working, that's not working, let's see what else I can try. But Amy's statement that says, hey, just these 2 pages read several times a day, every day, I believe it will sink through and allow for a shift naturally, just with the intention to let it happen. And Amy, you get to be our last word. How
Thank
cool
you
is
so
that?
much for your share, Cindy.
Chuck,
Your-
thank you so much for your share. This is so, I mean, Cindy started out with looking at judgment like it's the cockroach and the light. And this first paragraph, it says, since you have an unfortunate tendency to be self-punishing, You believe that control of judgment is a self-preserving function, and therefore regard it as a necessary defense of yourself. Wow. Right? Don't judge yourself for judging. The ego will say, you're judging, so just give up on yourself. You're judging over and over again. Give up on yourself. That's such a gentle and beautiful paragraph. Thank you, Chuck, for reminding us of that. And thank you, Cindy, for this beautiful, beautiful teaching.
Extraordinary hour. Okay, I love us, and I am going to stop the recording.
Is there